I'd love to take a second. I'd love to hear from you guys. What is the piece that's kind of landed or giving you some sense of aha, insight, something that's stuck in the last couple of days? So let me give a brief little summary overview to remind you, in case you've forgotten where we're at. But I want you to just kind of be combing through your mind, thinking, what was the thing I needed to hear? So, day one, we talked about numerology powered business planning, and we talked about how your energy impacts the medicine that you have to give to your clients. We looked at how that affects the type of clients that are drawn to work with you. And we also looked at your personal year to figure out what stage you're going to be in with your business right now, whether it's like more of a building stage or serving clients or pivoting or making shifts, that kind of thing. So that was day one. And then on day two, we talked about the three-stage business model. And this is where, day one was about the energetics. Day two was more about the strategy. When you have the right strategy in place, it's going to draw in those clients that want to work with you. It's going to provide them an opportunity to say yes, to build that sense of trust with themselves and with you. So that's the stage two component. And then the stage three component is more about like building that profitable foundation so that you can share your work profitably, you're financially sovereign and supported with your business. And then, of course, the stage one is really where you get to be giving freely, sharing generously, making a difference in people's lives in very accessible ways. But then doing so in such a way that you're able to position the stage two and stage three so that you can make money. Because if you're not making money, it's not sustainable. And eventually you'll probably have to give it up. I mean, I don't think most of us can run a business that's not profitable forever, right? At some point, we need to turn a profit. And arguably speaking, if you don't need to turn a profit, turn one so that you can generously share your resources and expand your resources. So, I would love to know two questions I want to ask you. Question number one, what's the piece that you got an aha, something stuck, an insight you needed to hear? And the second question is, where is the gap you're noticing? What are you missing? Where are you lost? Where are you noticing like, oh, this was either a blind spot for me or an area that I was unaware of or something I need extra help. Maybe you were aware of it and you need extra help with it. So one question is the insight and one question is the gap. Absolutely, totally fine. Love the energetic part, but most needed to be reminded of the three stages and to go deeper. Yes. So many people who are really good with the energetics, like we love to play in that realm, right? It's so fun. It's so good. It's so enjoyable. The thing is, though, here's what I've discovered over the years. Tell me if you're with me on this. Like the energetics are fun and enjoyable, and I love them, but the energetics combined with money are even funner. Like they're even more enjoyable. Uh, Received clarity on the importance of the structure and the flow of it all. So, psyched once again, and how the numbers in the universe supports. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, the three stages. So when you think about the three stages, where do you feel you need to strengthen your efforts? Do you guys have a sense of where that would be? Whether it's stage one, stage two, stage three. Yeah. I love the structure of the stages too, right? It's so supportive. Aha, you need the structures in place for your gifts to thrive. Yes, absolutely. And the gap, having the belief that even with the structures, a business has to be hard to be successful and working on that. Absolutely. And I mean, it doesn't have to be hard. That is true. But I also will say it's not easy, but it's not hard necessarily in the ways we think, right? Sometimes we're our own worst enemy in making things overly complicated or getting up in our own heads or getting overwhelmed and falling into kind of a freeze mode where we're unable to move forward. Yeah, thinking about stage two, beautiful. So transitioning from the audience building and then focusing on, that trust building stage a little bit more or the accessibly priced offers stage a little bit more. And if that's you, If your practice isn't full and you're not making the income you want to make, I would highly encourage your stage two to include two-way dialogue between you and your client in some way, shape, or form, whether that's being on a Zoom with them, voice notes with them, feedback, some type of two-way conversation, because those two-way conversations are gold for helping you figure out what's the messaging I need in place to get them to say yes to number three, right? And that is where the money comes in. That's where the profit comes in. More master classes. Yes, please, Michelle. More master classes. I love master classes. I think they're so powerful and so helpful and so profound, right? Like, it's like, what a blessed time for us to live in, that anything you could ever possibly want to learn, know, and understand, you can access for free. And to be able to be one of those people that shares in that way generously, to me, is such a gift, right? And of course, we all know the limitations of attending the free training, right? It's like reading a book. You can read all the books you want on anything, healthy, money, business, relationships, whatever. But reading the book and attending the masterclass is different than experiencing the transformation. And if you're offering masterclasses or ebooks or anything like that in your stage one, it's very important for you to understand the difference as the provider. To understand the difference versus, like, I'm just going to give you some information versus what's actually going to change my client's life, right? Because when you know the subtle difference in that, you can give without sticky expectation feelings, right? And the sticky expectation feelings is what makes sales feel icky, right? It's like the covert, you do not want to go into a sales conversation with this like covert, unspoken expectation of like need, right? Because as soon as that kicks in, that's what makes sales uncomfortable and creepy. And people say they don't like sales. I would argue it's not that you don't like sales, it's that you don't like manipulative tactics, sticky energy, and unspoken expectations. Well, nobody likes that, right? Especially when it comes to money. So the better we understand the difference between what I can share generously for free and where the true lasting transformational change happens, the clearer I can be in that, clearer I can be in my energetic boundaries, and then there doesn't have to be any stickiness in it. I can give completely generously without feeling a feeling around it one way or the other. It should be fun. Let's make business fun. Yeah. Reconsidering offering one-on-one, being dominant in the emotional plane. Yeah. I would encourage that for sure. If you're dominant in the emotional plane, find a way to get the connection in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like for you. But the connection is critical for those who are emotionally dominant. But arguably speaking, for anybody who cares about heart-based connection, right? If that's something that fills your cup, find a way for your business to give that to you, right? You get to choose and design and structure your business in such a way that it fills your cup, fills your needs, right? Your business needs to give to you. I'll be honest, lots of insights, and I'm feeling a bit like I need to overhaul my business. Yeah. Oh, it's true. It's true. It happens. And I'll be honest, it's never a one and done thing. Like, I've been doing this for 12 years, and the number of pivots, tweaks, adjustments, and shifts I make on an annual basis are a little bit mind-boggling. I'll attribute some of it to being a seven and wanting to always be following the energy. But, these kinds of shifts happen all the time. Yes, definitely creating a personal structure for day-to-day life and the work-life harmony. Yes, I like that you said harmony versus balance. As a, you know, solo entrepreneur and a single mom, the word balance sometimes makes my skin crawl because I feel like it's elusive, impossible, an illusion, and maybe a lie. I'm like, you notice how the people who talk a lot about balance either don't have kids, have a fully engaged and active partner, or outsource childcare. One of those three is true, or if not all of them. Uh, top insights. Revising the who I'm attempting to attract, revamping stage one completely, being way more engaged personally. Yes. Yeah. Being engaged personally to attract. Yeah. Because yes, it's true. For the positioning to be effective, people have to be able to hear, feel, and feel you. Like they have to feel your energy. Yeah, I love harmony. I'm with you. Okay, this is so good. This is making me very excited. I want to ask you a couple of questions. What do you feel you need to have in place to make it so that you can make these changes that you've identified, right? What do you need in place? So, what is the thing that's going to support you to be more effective in your positioning, to dial in your stage two offers, to launch some master classes, to get that better work life harmony, day to day harmony? Such a good word. What do you need? I want to hear if anyone wants to unmute, let me know, or if you want to pop in the chat. What do you need? What will make that possible for you? I need tech support. Beautiful. Same. Uh, harmony sounds amazing. I used to be one of those people with no kids that told people how to be an entrepreneur and live a balanced life. And then we adopted three kids, and I understood balance is impossible, right? It's true. It's true. Okay, so tech support, that was one of the things that came up. Love it. Um, can I share my somewhat unpopular opinion about tech support? Try it on for size. Doesn't have to be true for you if it's not true for you. Sometimes I feel tech support becomes a convenient excuse. Don't hate me for saying it. The reason I say that is because when we have to take a step forward, and the step forward is beyond our comfort zone, we're going to immediately find a reason why it's hard. Okay? And tech is the easiest reason why it's hard. Tech is the low-hanging fruit of why things are hard, right? It's the easiest thing to blame it on. And I'm not saying tech's not hard. I'm not saying tech's not complicated and confusing. And there's so many choices in the market these days that it's like it does get overwhelming, right? And I want to also invite you to play with the idea that what if tech being hard is a convenient excuse or a convenient story? Even let's label it that because that's a bit kinder. What if tech being hard is a convenient story? And what if me and tech can actually get on the same page together? Like, can I personify tech as an energy of support in my life? Can I personify tech as an energy of support in my life? Tech is a technology, obviously, short for technology. What if it could choose to have my back? What if tech and I just need to learn each other's quirks and we could actually be BFFs? And I want to share a little story about this as to how I came to have this mindset around tech. I didn't know we were taking it this direction today, but here we are. Is this helpful? Is this a conversation you guys want me to delve into a little bit? I remember my grandma is 96 years old. 96 years old. She's incredible. All tech, any type of software technology that supports you in your business. Website, emails, funnels, tagging systems, automations, AI, whatever. Anything that requires software and potentially hardware to me is the tech. So I remember talking to my grandma. She's 96 years old and she's incredible. She still is fully independent, lives on her own, and she's an amazing woman. And one of her first jobs before she was married, she worked as a secretary in the Molson's Brewery downtown Vancouver. And I was like, what did you do? And she's like, I was the secretary. And she was like, there was about, 15 to 20 of us ladies, all like in their early 20s. And they had this like little office in a loft area that would overlook the floor of the brewery. I was like, well, what did you guys do? She's like, had our paper and we would take notes and we answer phone calls and we type things up on the typewriter and there was like, I don't know, 15 to 20 of them. And I'm going to guess, I'm making up stories here because I don't know if this is exactly accurate, but I'm guessing 15 to 20 admin secretarial type women for probably a team of what, maybe five sort of executives, right? Maybe. Like they probably had the CEO, the COO, the CFO, an operations person, a manufacturing person, like sales maybe, I don't know, like 5 to 7 people and like 15 to 20 secretaries. You can run a business like that now with 2 admin staff, right? Because of tech. I can run the business I run now. Like imagine if I needed someone to take notes for my meetings and then type the notes of my meetings up and mail them and then phone people and like address envelopes and lick stamps and put them in and walk to the post office. I can do all of that now with like 3 clicks of my keyboard instantly, right? Instantly. And that's something that you used to need a staff of 15 to 20 to do. It would be impossible to run a business like I run if it wasn't for tech, because the cost of the staffing would be prohibitive and it wouldn't make sense. You couldn't do it. It would be impossible. So when I think about my business and how tech allows me to have these kinds of conversations with you who are all around the world, literally, there's some Canadians, some people in the US, there's some people in Australia who like registered for this call. I don't know if they're on the call today because I think it's like the middle of the night for them right now. But there's people all around the world here. This would literally be impossible like 20 years ago, right? So, right? Right, Elaine? It's wild. And so when I think about that and I personify tech as an energy of support in my life and in my business, we might not always see eye to eye. We might not always speak each other's language perfectly. But when I'm like, tech wants me to be able to connect with you guys all around the world. Tech wants me to have a profitable business and is trying to help me have a profitable business if I could just get on the same page with it, right? And it's like, it's wild when you start to see how it can be such a supportive energy. And as soon as I choose to embrace it as this loving, supportive guide in my life, my relationship with it changes. And it makes it so much easier than if I were to sit down at my computer and like get mad at my Kajabi or get mad at my Canva or my accounting software, whatever the softwares are. Then it's like now we're just yelling at each other. We're getting nowhere. So, does this conversation give you some insights into like your new tech bestie, your new tech love? Oh, right? Mm-hmm. Totally. And let me add to say that this does not preclude you from outsourcing someone managing your tech, right? If someone manages your tech for you, that's still you and your tech being besties, right? Being support. That's totally fine, right? Totally fine. I'm always going to be of the opinion that no matter if you can afford to outsource it or not, you should, this is, I'm going to use the S word here, know how to log in and make changes to every tech that you have. You should never have that completely hands off. And my analogy to this is like back in the day when, as a woman, you didn't have access to your own bank account. Like, why would you ever do that to yourself, right? If for some reason the person gets sick or, something happens or whatever, it's like you need to be able to go in and make changes, right? So give yourself the gift of empowerment with tech. It is a great lead in because I'm going to talk about AI today. Okay, that was a little side rant on tech, but I want you guys to love tech because tech truly loves you. Tech truly wants you to be successful. right? It's like, I'm just here to make your life easier. How can I make your life easier? Right? So, three things. What is going to make or break your success in implementing the pieces that you've learned in the last couple of days? Right? Um, what are the three things? Okay. In general, after coaching people for like, I don't even know, 12 to 13 years at this point, these three things are the reasons why over and over and over again, I see why people are like get stuck. They're unable to move forward, or they end up sabotaging their success, or they end up kind of spinning their wheels. Number one is the time that they take themselves out because of fear, overwhelm, doubts, or insecurities. Doubts and insecurities, fears, and overwhelm, let's just get this out right now. That's normal. That will happen every single day. That will happen forever in your business. I would love to say that it will disappear at some point, but in my experience, it never disappears. And not that I'm at the pinnacle of my success or anything, but in talking to people who are, they still have fears, doubts, and insecurities. The difference is how long does it sideline you? And that's the question I want you to play with right now is the last time I felt nervous about something or unsure about something or hesitant or fearful or insecure about something, how long did it sideline me? Right? It's not only is it okay, but it's good. Feel that frustration. Get angry, get I was gonna say, get mangry, get mad, angry, and hungry. That's mangry now, apparently. Do the things you need to do. Kick and scream and yell, rip some paper and send your friend a voice note cursing the world. And then what? Right? And then what? And this is, I think, so important. The other thing that I like to play with in this idea is just because I think it doesn't make it true. So many of us become like, let the thoughts be the dictator of our reality. Mangry, the new word. So many of us let our thoughts become like the dictator of our actions. Your thoughts don't need to decide anything, that they can just be an annoying person, like an annoying backseat driver that you just ignore, right? They don't have to be the driver of the bus. So, one of my statements in there is just because I think it doesn't make it true. And I have these thoughts all the time. And I still post every single day, and I still email at least once a week, and I still reach out and do the outreach and launch the thing and post the graphic that's not perfect and do the things because just because I have a thought around it doesn't mean it's accurate and true, and doesn't mean it deserves the disservice of blocking me from taking action. Because if it blocks you from taking action, it blocks you from your success. So that is number one. Knowing that the time you take yourself out, how can you minimize that? Okay, now this is a personal question I want to put to you. What can you do to minimize the time you take yourself out? What are the things you can put in place that will make it so that, yeah, you get to feel your feelings, but your thoughts don't get to take the wheel? We're mixing metaphors here. Hope that's okay. Does anyone want to share what helps them not let the doubts take over? What keeps that window of, distracted by those thoughts as small as possible? Anyone want to share anything that they've worked with that helps them? Yes, small steps that I do know, and then learning small chunks of what I don't. Absolutely. The baby step approach, gold. It's like the tortoise and the hare story, right? One little step, one little step. The other one that I say to myself a lot that is kind of along those same lines is done is better than perfect. Because the doubts will tell you it has to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. Every time. Music. Absolutely. Having the right music to keep you energetically aligned. Meditation and grounding. Yes, going for a walk outside, sunshine on the face and in the eyeballs. I'm a big proponent of sunshine in the eyeballs. Like, don't stare at the sun, but don't wear your sunglasses all the time either. The sun can perk you up. Louise, 100% a support network. This is to me one of the biggest benefits of working with a group, right? Whether it's with a mastermind, with a group coaching program, working with like having a collaborative circle you work with, working with a group, because every single one of them are going to recognize that in you and want that recognized in themselves, right? Like when you're with those people and you're like, "Hey, my brain's doing crazy things and it's telling me XYZ." Not everyone in your life will understand that, right? Like if you tell your family members or your friends who work the 9 to 5 jobs, their approach to handling those doubts is going to be very different than someone with an entrepreneurial mindset. And so you can't always go to them with this kind of stuff. You need to surround yourself with people who see your greatness and hold you to it. And I'm going to say need in this case, even though I never want to tell you what to do. You need to decide for you what you need to do. But I will tell you 100% certainty that I would not be able to have made the difficult moves I've made over the last 5 to 10 years if it wasn't for those people in my corner who saw what was possible in me in the moments I've doubted it in myself, right? It's not possible. I don't see how it's possible. I almost want to say it's impossible, but then I know there's a couple of rebels who'd be like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I'm like, do it. Prove me wrong. Yeah. Family's telling me to get a real job rather than focusing on my entrepreneurial stuff, right? Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of the reasons why when I'm faced with options of working group coaching versus one-on-one, one-on-one is great because it gets to be all about you. That's great. And there's definitely a time and place for that. But there's also a time and a place for having community and having people who you can bounce ideas off of and having peers who are doing the same thing as you. And, you know, you can have each other's back. You can be each other's social media besties where you comment on each other's stuff. You can be each other's cheerleaders. You can leave the long, rambly voice notes about your plans for the day and use them for accountability. There's something to be said for that. So, in my group programs, I strongly emphasize and encourage that because I know it's mandatory, right? Like I just don't even see how it's possible to be lonely and isolated as a solo entrepreneur and not have that level of support in your life in some way, shape, or form. Which kind of goes into the number two. Okay. The number two is recognizing the dominant narratives around you, right? And the level of like what the conversation is around you. So depending on, your day-to-day life, the conversations around you are what they are. But it's up for us to curate these to some degree. And you can hack that by listening to entrepreneurial minded podcasts and, you know, I guess that's the best one. Books, audiobooks, ebooks, or just paper books, where you're feeding that conversation into your mind as well. But then also being able to have conversations with others where, like, that's the dominant narrative. They're talking about their goals, their dreams, their next big move, the thing they're afraid of, but they're doing it anyways. And they're normalizing that, right? Um, Emotions are so contagious, and so is mindset, because it's like the loudest voice wins, right? And so, what are the loud voices in your world and the frequent voices in your world? And how do you get these voices to be the ones you want? Like, which one do you want to win? I guess it's that proverb about, there's two wolves in your head. Which one is winning? Right. And it's like, well, it's the one you feed. It's the one you make the loudest. It's the one you give the most attention to. It's the conversations you invest in. Right. So finding people who are having those conversations about living the life that they truly want to live versus reiterating the struggles of their current reality. Like we all need time to vent. Nothing wrong with that. But like, what's the dominant narrative? Um, and recognizing, am I supporting myself and surrounding myself with the narratives that I'm choosing to believe and engage in? Right. And that requires some discernment. And sometimes it requires hard decisions of leaning back from areas where you don't like the conversation. And when you lean back from an area where you don't like the conversation, sometimes that means friendship circles shift. And then it's up to you to be like, how do I want that to look? Right. And uncomfortable boundaries sometimes, right? But also mandatory and necessary if this is important to you to pursue this dream and this goal is like, it's your job to manage your energy first and foremost. At the end of the day, that's all you have, right? And then the third one, the third one to me is the ability to leverage time and energy. So for the longest time, this was outsourcing, right? Being able to hire support to help you with the mundane and repeatable tasks, of which I'm a fan of. I have a VA and she's amazing and I love her and I'll lean on her more or less depending on what I've got going on any given month. And it's incredible. But we also have the benefit of AI support right now, which is literally blowing my mind with how powerful it is. So I want to kind of delve into the conversation of AI support a little bit. But before I do, I just love to hear, yes, having to block people because they have bad energy, 100%. Just do it. Curate your feed, curate your life. Like I'm not a proponent of the good vibes only thing, but if someone's spewing stuff online that you don't like, get rid of them. You do not need that in your life. You get to curate your environment. Okay. So before I delve into the AI conversation a little bit, I'd love to just hear from people on the call. Maybe rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I never use AI, 10 being I use AI every day. Where would you sit on that spectrum? Never use AI, 1, 10, I use AI daily. 6, 8, beautiful, 5. Yes, love it.
Mm. Hey, Megan, I want to clarify this question. Are you talking about specifically an AI support bot, or are you talking about some kind of system like Kajabi that has an AI component built in that automates systems?
Yeah, that's a great refining question. Either or, I guess. Like if it's leveraging and refining things that you would have previously done more manually or would have taken you more time without the AI, then to me that counts. Yeah. 10 with my Google alarms. I love it. I don't know what that means, but that's awesome. So good. I use AI daily. Me too. I freaking love my AI. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how we can use AI to support us. This is something that I completely have built into the group coaching program, the Abundant Business Mentorship, where with each month and each module, I give you either an AI bot to work with or AI prompts to work with to create whatever it is, right? So, for example, on the module that we use to create your quiz funnel, I teach you exactly how to get the AI to work with you to create the quiz funnel. So there's sequences to follow when you're working with AI, like the concept of prompt engineering, right? Which is how you ask it for instructions, how you work with it, the order and how you communicate with it is so freaking powerful. Um, yeah, I'm still on the fence about AI. It's going to take away from jobs. On the other note, it's beneficial. Absolutely. And that's valid, right? Like even when we go back to my grandmother's story, there used to be 10, 15 to 20 secretaries working at the Molson Brewery, and now there's probably 2, right? That is a huge chunk of jobs gone that used to be there. So absolutely, there could be an impact on jobs. I'm not denying that. The AI that I use in my day-to-day life doesn't take away a job. No, because I don't necessarily have the budget to hire someone to do what I would get my AI to do, right? So for me, I'm not necessarily eliminating a job. I might actually be reducing my VA's hours a little bit, but when I give my VA jobs, I'll often give her jobs and I'll tell her, here's how I want you to do it with AI, right? I've already created certain bots to do certain things and I have certain ways of working with my bots. And so I'll give those to her and be like, can you do X, Y, and Z using my bots? So it's important to think like there is shifts happening in the marketplace. There's shifts happening when it comes to all kinds of economic changes, technological changes when it comes to things like, the way we deal with oil and gas, the way we deal with carbon and electricity and solar, the way we deal with environmentalism, the way we deal with free trade or not free trade. There's shifts happening constantly, no matter what. We cannot change or control them. We get to decide, do I participate or not? You don't have to participate. That's totally a choice. The way I've chosen to work with AI at this stage in the game is, to me, AI is my intern. And I created a freebie that I'll share with you guys called AI is my unpaid intern, because AI is not a leader. AI is not a thought leader. AI is not inspirational. AI is not an energy healer. AI is a probability based pattern recognition machine. Okay. So I'll link it to you guys when I send the email out with the replay about AI, or sorry, Chat GPT being your unpaid intern. AI is an intern. It's not a thought leader. It cannot be the one to expand thought. In fact, it does convergent thinking, not divergent thinking. As a leader, we need to be good at more divergent thinking, or thinking like outside the box, or thinking beyond mainstream. AI is combing for patterns and then landing on likelihoods, right? It's probability. So it's not looking for outliers. Whereas as entrepreneurs and thought leaders, that's where if we live in those areas, that helps us to be successful. And can I just give you a little econ theory around that as to why that's the case, just to kind of help you to understand? If we do convergent thinking, meaning all of our ideas and thoughts kind of converge towards one most common idea, if we do that, what happens is our products and services start to become what's called in econ terms homogeneous, which means they're the same, which means a session with me, a session with Betsy, a session with Jody, a session with Christine, a session with Chandra, basically all the same, maybe minute details. An example in real life would be gas. If you buy gas from Petrocan or from Shell or from Esso, it's the same thing. Maybe they have a different colored logo, but it's the same thing, right? Maybe their pumps, one's a little bit nicer and one's a little bit uglier, but it's the same thing, right? That's a homogeneous product. When you have a homogeneous product, the market will bid down the price, which means the winner is the cheapest. That's how we have gas wars, right? The winner is the cheapest. As entrepreneurs, we do not want to fall into that trap. That is the trap of burnout, exhaustion, and price erosion. What we want is divergent thinking. We want to be different. We want to be unique. We want to be on the edges. We want to be more on the fringe. This creates a heterogeneous product, which means they're different. So a reading with me and a reading with Chandra, totally different, not comparable, not even on the same planet. You go to Chandra for XYZ, you go to me for ABC. These are not the same, right? And as soon as you get not the same, now price is not a factor anymore, because it's not, well, whose is the cheapest? It's who meets my needs, right? Who meets my needs? Who is going to solve my unique problem? Who gets me? Who understands what I'm dealing with? I will pay double for someone who understands me and can solve my unique problem. Not about price anymore. So this is why we can work with AI, but we have to be careful about how we work with it, because we do not want AI to make us the same. We want AI to support us in our thought leadership and our uniqueness. Do you guys get why it's important to understand what AI's role is and how to not fall in the trap of the homogeneous, highly competitive, price competitive product? Thank you for letting me wear my econ dork hat for a few minutes. That makes me very happy. Any questions about that? Yeah, it's powerful when you understand the theory behind it. Because when you understand the theory behind it, now you know, how do I follow that up with the right actions? I'm not going to let AI decide my niche. I'm not going to let AI tell me how to position. I'm not going to let AI tell me what's the best solution to my client's problems, right? That is thought leadership, and that's where divergent thinking wins. But if I write journal entry style, stream of consciousness style when I'm thinking about my client, right? Like one of the things I love to do is write, like, I call them love letters to my client, right? Where I write, like, I know you must feel X, Y, and Z. I know you wish for da 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 da. I know life would be easier for you with this. I know you're struggling with that. And it's like, there's lots of slang in it. There's lots of, it's like social media writing. It's very casual. It's not like properly paragraph formatted, but it's my thought leadership. I can put that into an AI that I've educated on my brand and ask it to write it as a blog, to write it as a LinkedIn article, to write it as a podcast script, to write it as social media clips, to write a reel script because it's my thought leadership. And now it gets to amplify something that I maybe took an hour doing. It can take 30 seconds of my prompting and turn it into 5 or 6 pieces of work that if I had have manually done them would have taken me 2 days, right? Like if I were to manually do a LinkedIn article, a blog, a podcast script, and 4 or 5 social media posts, working with zero distraction, that would probably take me 6 to 8 hours, right? An hour to 2 hours per piece. That is not sustainable. I can't do that. I do not have enough time in my day to do that. So if I want my thought leadership to go to these multiple platforms, I can take my ideas and get my bot to leverage them, right? Like it's so powerful to recognize what AI's role is. Just like you wouldn't get your intern, like if you had an intern, you worked for a company, you had an intern, you wouldn't get your intern to like, I don't know, do any of the thought leadership stuff. You'd be like, format this email, improve the paragraph structure, give me suggestions, whatever, right? You can also use AI to help you brainstorm, especially the better AI gets to know you. And this is where building a relationship with your AI is really, really helpful because your AI learns from you. So if I take all the emails I've written when it comes to my Abundant Business Mentorship, which is the program I've been sharing with you guys, if I take all the emails I've written to promote it over the past 2 years and put them into AI and then say to it, what are the 5 content pillars based on these like 50 emails I've written over the last 2 years? It's going to have a better understanding of my content pillars than I am because it's pattern recognition. And as a human, I'm not really the greatest at pattern recognition. We humans are bad at that in general, right? Like typically we're bad at that. Machines do a better job of that than we do. So, what are your content pillars? Oh my God, now I've got my 5 content pillars. Okay, now I'm going to create a social media strategy based on my 5 content pillars. Okay, AI, now that you've looked at my 50 emails that I've written over the past couple years, what are sub bullets under these content pillars? Oh, great. I'm going to do some writing on those sub bullets. Now take that and turn it into an email. And I could do that. And in literally one day, I could have every single email written that I wanted to write for an entire year, pre-programmed and scheduled to go out and never touch my emails again if I didn't want to. I could do all of that in a day if I had the right structure for content prompts and I trained my AI properly. I want to preface that because you don't want to just get AI to write all your emails without training it and without having the right prompt engineering. Because that's where, again, homogeneous thinking versus heterogeneous thinking. We want diverse thinking. Okay. So these are things that we do in the Abundant Business Mentorship where I teach you how to develop a relationship with your AI. And I will say it is a relationship. Your AI is constantly getting to know you and you're constantly getting to know it. And the more you communicate with it, it's not a one and done thing. It's not like, oh, I've learned how to prompt engineer and we're done here. It's like, no, every time I try it and I see what works or I see what doesn't work, then I can refine it for next time, or I can correct it, or I can, whatever. Okay, so I use ChatGPT for my large language model. So 99% of the time when I'm talking about my usage of AI, I'm probably referring to ChatGPT. Pretty much all the examples I've shared so far are ChatGPT. I will use others, like you can get your note taker to track your coaching. And this is genius. You know how people have like their own like coach bot? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like if I had a coach bot, it would be called Megan AI, and she would give the same advice I would give if someone asked her a coaching question. Well, how do I teach her to give my advice? I record 20 or 30 coaching sessions and I put the transcripts into a bot and she learns how I coach people. There's subtlety to that, especially with numerology, because in my experience, large language models are bad at math. So every time I've tried to ask an AI to do math for me, it doesn't do a good job. It makes mistakes. So I do the math myself and then I tell it, this is the answer based on the data bank I've given you. Tell me what this answer means, right? So you can do that. Um, when you work with a bot that you like trained yourself in ChatGPT, it's called a custom GPT. And when you create a custom GPT, you can load it with documents. So when I say take the last 20 emails you've written to your email list, or take your journal that you've been writing to your clients, best case scenario, it's already in Google Docs. But if it's a handwritten journal, well, you're going to have to figure out how to put it into typed up journal. You can attach it with the paperclip and it learns your language and your brand voice based on combing through those documents. The other thing, this is one thing that I can give all of you guys to do right now. You don't need any special knowledge to do this, okay? You can say to ChatGPT, the free version doesn't have to be paid. You can say to it, ask me the questions that you need to know about me to create a brand voice profile. Okay. So then it will ask you a series of questions. Okay. Then you will answer them, like copy and paste the questions and answer them. And then if you have the free version, you can't do the paperclip attachment. You actually have to copy and paste text in, answer all the questions, and then say, with this information, write me a brand voice profile. Okay. And it will write you a brand voice profile. Then you will say, I'm going to copy and paste 10 articles I've written or 10 emails I've written in my own voice. Please refine my brand voice profile based on my actual writing, and it will refine it. Now you take that document, the brand voice profile that you've asked it to build you, and this might take you 15 minutes. Like it's not a process that's hard to do. You copy and paste it into a Google Doc, so you always have it as your brand voice profile. Every time you want to write something using AI, you copy and paste that in and you say, using my brand voice profile, write me da 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 da. Write me a social post, write me an email, write me an article, whatever you need. And you can say what you want the topic to be. You can say what content pillar it is. You can even just like talk to it. If you have it on your phone, you can put the voice activated one on and say, hey, I need to write my clients an email today. And I specifically want to talk about the fact that it's a 3 energy month and they need to focus on being social and being engaged. And I know a lot of them are struggling with excessive thinking these days, and that's what's holding them back. Using my attached brand voice profile, write an email on that, please. It's my thought, my idea. Now it's my words. And I literally did that while I was walking home from dropping the kids off at school, right? Like, so powerful. But when you hear me say that, I'm like, that's like, I mean, I never worked in a law office, but like in law offices, when you see them on TV, they always have their like little dictaphone. They're like, secretary, can you please email such and such, write a letter to so and so, right? It's the same thing. It's using the intern, using your staff, only your staff's technology in this case. Don't you love that? Is anyone going to try my brand voice profile homework exercise? If you need to walk through this step by step and me blurbing it out is too much for you, I'll give you the guide. ChatGPT is my unpaid intern, and I've kind of written out a bunch of prompts for you to experiment with in that guide. Does anyone have questions? Feel free to unmute. I think, Christine, you had a question for me?
I was just saying that this makes so much sense. I love it, and I would definitely love that guide.
Yeah.
Um, I would love
It's,
to play with that and try that.
yeah, and I get it when you're not used to talking to AI, it's daunting, which is why when you look at my guide, it's conversational with your AI. And that's really the best way for it to be. Like you kind of want to pretend your AI is another person, like the intern, right? You need to ask one, maybe two questions at a time, and you want to iterate as you go, right? Like they're leading questions because you're the thought leader, you're the expert, and it's just following your instructions. So it's a leading question. You're not asking it to be creative, you're not asking it to be the thought leader, you are. And so we have to be kind of mindful about how we use it. So in the abundant business mentorship, that's one of the things I'm going to teach you guys how to do is how to create these bots that can replicate repeatable processes for you. So one of the ones that I built for myself is I have a podcast. So I take my podcast transcript and I upload it into the bot I've trained. Because I've trained the bot, I don't have to give it prompts. I literally attach it with the paperclip and hit enter. And the bot has been trained to spit out all of the data I need for my YouTube, for my email, for my like uploading it to Spotify and everything. It gets spit out with no content prompting on my end because I trained it already, right? So I'll teach you guys how to do that. The other piece I'll teach you how to do if this is something you're interested in doing, and this is a massive opportunity for energy workers, for healers, for coaches, for people where your sessions are one-on-one, is taking the session that you've had with a client and then training the bot to give you reports. So for different practitioners, this is going to look different. You might want a report that's like a project management style report with like dates, schedule, accountability, whatever. You might, like for me, when I do it with numerology, I want to know dates and I want to know focuses for those dates and action items for those dates, right? I haven't done this, but now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, I should add in journal prompts for each date, right? So I train the bot how to do that one time. And once it learns how to do it, then every time I have a one-on-one numerology session, all I got to do, I don't have to ask the bot anything because I've trained it as I take the transcript, give it to the bot, and then the bot spits out the report that I've trained it how to write. Okay. So I'll teach you guys how to do that within the Abundant Business Mentorship, which just actually creates like a massive value add plus accountability level support for your clients, right? I know, isn't it amazing? The fun thing about the AI too is because there's so many possibilities with it, it starts by using it, like making it friendly to use, right? So asking it for things like the examples I gave around, turning my stream of consciousness writing into a blog or into an email. That's a basic usage. But when I get comfortable with basic usages, then my mind starts to open up. Oh, could I do it here? Could I do it there? What would it do for this? What would it do for that? And that's where you really start to see the magic happen. But you can't get to that step if you haven't made friends with it at step one, if that makes sense. Absolutely, Louise. Yes, you worry that your authenticity is lost or things get watered down? 100%. This is why it's so important that you're the thought leader. And just because it spits out like so say I write my journal, whatever stream of consciousness writing, and then I say turn this into a blog. It's not often that I will use it exactly as is unedited. I usually read it over. I take out pieces that don't sound like what I would say and tweak it a little bit, right? So I will give it a final edit. The other thing that you can do is you can, a lot of the times people say the part that sets you apart is the storytelling, the personal examples, and the metaphors. So you can train it on your stories and your metaphors, right? By having added with your brand voice, here's my top 5 favorite stories to tell. Here's my top 5 metaphors I like to use. Incorporate them in the writing, right? So you can train it. But then when it spits out an answer, I don't blindly, and maybe I should have said this clearly, I don't blindly take it and just copy and paste it without reviewing and editing. I will read it, I will edit it, I will review it, and I will make sure that there's enough of my personality in. Oftentimes it's fine. But there are times where I'm like, oh, I want to add in a quote, or I want to add in a client testimonial, or I want to add in something that happened to me last week. Fair enough, right? It's easier to do that now that something's pre-written than to have to do the whole thing from scratch. Yeah.
Hey, Megan, I have a question about saving the material. Sounds like you get material and put it back in on a very consistent basis.
Mhm.
So it also sounds like you have a paid account, and some of the things are available in a paid account, and some of the things are not available. So, with the concept of constantly generating it and being the leader of what information is being used, what kind of program do you have personally that you rely on for saving all the content and not getting like bogged down or overwhelmed with material on your devices?
So I have the paid version of ChatGPT, and I don't know how the free version does this, but the paid version remembers everything, every conversation I've had, and it shows it as tabs. Um, and if it's something I need, I will save it as a Google Doc, and Chat and Google Docs talk to each other. So I'm going to just show you what my looks like right now, just so you can kind of see um, how it looks.
So I didn't know that Chat and Google Docs works side by side. So does Meta use all Meta products use all Google products?
I
Like
don't
I
know.
didn't know that.
I don't know. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know about that. But okay, so here is the custom bots that I've created. Those are the ones I've written where I don't have to give them prompts. I just click on them and I upload the documents and it does what it does. Here's all the stuff I've asked it. It remembers what I asked it today. I asked it about emotional contagion. Yesterday, I asked it about this stuff. You know, this is everything I've asked over the past however long. I can go back down there for ages. You can also organize by projects. I only have one project on the go, but anything that I've wanted to do for projects, it's like everything related to this topic, I pop in here. And if I open it, it will show me all the questions I've asked related to that. So it's all in there. It all remembers. Um, if I'm starting from a scratch thing, and I want it to take into account my brand voice. My brand voice is saved in Google. So I would attach it here from Google. Or if it was a download, like say I downloaded a transcript from a client session, or like downloading the transcript from this call. After this call is done, I will download the transcript. It will be saved under my downloads on my computer. I'll attach it here and I'll say, summarize this call, and it will summarize it for me, right? Or I'll say, what were the key teaching points? What were the key questions that were asked? Did anybody like what were the, yeah, I would say, what were the questions that were asked? I could take all the questions out that you guys asked and create an FAQ super easily just by asking that, right? I could ask it to pull out all the testimonials. I could ask it to create timestamps. There's so many things I could do just with the transcript of this call by attaching it with this. If you, like I said, you have to have the paid version to get the attachments. However, if you don't have the paid version, you can copy and paste. But I do believe there's a copy and paste limit. I just don't know what the character limit is on that. You're welcome. Yeah, so there is confidentiality for sure, but I don't share, like when I'm uploading transcripts, it doesn't have the person's name, right? So it doesn't know who I'm talking about. Like it just says person A, person B.
Megan,
Hmm.
I just wanted to add that for the free one, and I use it mainly on my phone, but the main one also keeps, or the free one, I should say, does keep your history.
Oh, it
And,
does. Oh,
you
good.
just go back and click under history, and then you kind of scroll up, at least on my phone, and
Yeah,
find whatever that the topic was and click on it, and it opens the full thing I had worked on.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
just don't think
you,
you can integrate it with Google Drive, though. I haven't explored that myself, but I don't know if the free version,
I don't
I
think
think
it
that might
does.
be, yeah, I
I
think
know
that might
you
be
with the
considered
free
an
version, I know you
attachment.
can't attach documents. So, because that's why I went to the paid was I wanted to be able to attach documents. Because with it being able to attach documents, I can attach 5 documents and get it to comb 5 different things at once, right? Which for me is super handy. And I think I pay $15 a month for it. So it's been worth for me like every single penny. Anyways, I want to park the AI conversation there. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out and let me know. But just know that these are pieces that we do go into with the Abundant Business Mentorship Program so that you can help. Like I give you prompt engineering on all sorts of different topics, whether it's content creation, messaging, structure, how to create freebies, how to create quizzes, things like that, so that we can do it with more efficiency. It's not just all you doing all the manual labor involved in running your business, right? Like having that person who can be the brainstormer, who can flesh ideas out, like that to me is what AI is genius for. So, if anyone would like to chat about how this program can support you in growing your business, let me know. I'd love to book a one-on-one with you and we can just kind of take a look at where your business is at, where the opportunities lie, and see if this is the right fit for you. I would say for the most part, it's a fit for people who are looking to kind of leverage beyond just the one-on-one or the in-person stuff, or who want to grow their online presence a little bit more. So it's not necessarily for people who are just looking to do one-on-one in-person stuff. It's for people who are looking to follow that three-stage business model where you're building your presence and you're creating more leverage with the work you're doing. So you can offer the low cost and free stuff as well as the higher ticket, more profitable things. And yeah, kind of sewing all those little pieces together so you have that business model in place where you know when I do X, this is the result. And that to me is the goal. That's kind of like thinking of your business as a machine, in quotes, where it's like, I want to know that if I put this effort in, this is what's going to result. And obviously, there's never any guarantees in life. Conversion rates shift and evolve and change. But we have our like windows of like, well, if I do a workshop, I can typically expect that anywhere between 2 to 10% of the clients will convert into clients, right? So then it's like, oh, okay, I know if I want to do that, how many people do I want to have invite in? How do I promote that? What are the steps to keep engagement? And then what are the results that create from that? Does anybody have any questions for me? Yeah. So much potential. I know. Managing the potential and the like rabbit hole excitement with like, okay, stay focused, stay on track, stay on course. Which I mean, I'm hoping is the other benefit of the group coaching is like every week we're meeting. We have a business plan that we are following because day one, you get the plan, right? And then every week we're meeting and it's like, what of the plan am I moving forward? What are the pieces I'm integrating? What is my homework? Is my opt-in working? Is the follow-up email sequence working? What does it even mean for an opt-in to work and an email sequence to work? How would I know if it was working versus not working? What would I be looking for in a fail or a success, right? And how do I tweak it to improve that? Those are conversations that I think a lot of people don't really even know to have or how to have. And these are the conversations that I love to look at, especially when we're kind of create the whole model, because I'll give you a picture diagram of it where you can see. Maybe I'll show you really quick, actually, because I think I have one open here somewhere.
That was actually the next thing that was in my thoughts was because you opened up yesterday the potential of what is in your guided coaching with the 6 months, that there's the one-on-one, but there's also the mentorship program.
Mm-hmm.
is I wonder how much of that is guided leadership, or not leadership, but guided ap approachable tactics on the AI companion stuff. And
Yeah.
then new business model kind of things that you present.
Yeah. So whether we typically when I work with someone in one-on-one or group, there's a lot of similarities, right? So when I'm working with someone one-on-one, it's going to be similar. They might be more focused on, I really need to like iron out my stage 3 offer and I want to make it awesome. So it's more program design. But even within the program design, it's like, well, we still need to know what our messaging and our marketing is and how we're getting people in to the stage 3 offer because you don't want to create something that nobody buys, right? So the private coaching gives you more customization, but it's still kind of within this model of what's my business model, how am I attracting people, how am I nurturing them, and how am I making money, right? At the end of the day, those are kind of the three sort of big questions we all need to ask. And then as an individual, it's like, well, what's my comfort level with AI? Where do I want that to come in? Um, and I'm happy to share how I use it and how I like where I see the usages for it within my understanding, and teaching people how to create the bots if that's something they want to do, or prompt engineering if that's something they want to do. Um, so that, yeah, it's like in the group program, we do it every month. In the one-on-one program, it's probably dependent more on the focus of the person's goals. But here's the image just so you can kind of see the image. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is you're gonna kind of see my messy desktop, are you? So this is kind of what the framework that we built. So you come in with the messaging framework, you create an engaging quiz and a lead magnet. So the quiz is like something you can do to magnetize clients and clarify what's going on with them. The lead magnet, I think most of you guys know what a lead magnet is, but some kind of freebie, download something that brings people onto your email list and starts to nurture them through the process. Okay. You're going to have the stage 1 offer, which is, related to that. From there, they're going to go through an email sequence. They're going to go through a messaging framework that's going to lead to the stage 2 offer, which is the paid offer. Okay. That's the one where it's stage 2, getting to know you, building that sense of trust, and creating some small wins. From the stage 2, there's going to be the email sequence and messaging that's going to lead to stage 3, which is where the profit lies. From stage 3, there's going to be the product delivery. And from stage 3, I would also encourage another messaging framework that either loops them back into stage 3 or loops them back into some version of stage 2 or nurtures them on an ongoing basis for whenever they're ready to say yes again. So that kind of gives you that. And then, can you guys see the second picture now? Yeah. So the second picture just kind of walks you through how we sort of spend the 6 months. So in the beginning, it's about creating your personal business plan based on our one-on-one session and your numerology. From there, we get the big vision together in our group call. We map out the profit map based on your 3-stage model, clarify the client pathways, how the clients come through, which is a lot about the messaging, understanding your problem solution dynamic, that kind of thing. Create the quiz funnel, which is another that you can use for your stage 1. From there, understanding how to create speaking opportunities and workshop series. So a workshop series might be similar to what I'm doing with you guys today, and how to use that to position, preferably stage 3. You don't really want to do a 3-day workshop to position a low-cost offer. You'd like to do it to high-cost offer, but we'll talk about the pros and cons and how, right? And then the marketing strategy is the last piece. So it works out to be about 7 months together once you factor in the month where I take time to do everyone's one-on-ones, and then 6 months of the group together, meeting 3 times a month. And like I said, there's a framework and a structure we follow, but every group has different desires. So this last group that's running right now, they wanted to learn how to make memes. So we spent like half the call last week teaching memes and how to create memes. And they also wanted to learn the like inside tech part of building an email sequence, how to tag, how to figure out what email goes where. And interestingly enough, everybody not on purpose, had the same email provider. So it was really easy for me to show them exactly how to create their email sequence. Even if people have different email providers, though, it's pretty straightforward, especially because tech is our friend. Tech loves us. Tech wants our business to be successful. Tech wants us to be rich, right? It's like tech's here for that. So yeah, and it's like if people are like, oh, I don't know how to tag, it's like, okay, well, let's just quickly log in and figure that out. It's easy enough. The mastermind. Okay, so the one-on-one sessions with you would start on March 15th. So you basically have, what is that, 9 days to decide if you're in. The sooner the better, because I will book you in sooner, which would be great because my goal would be to deliver your one-on-one within the last 2 weeks of March so that you have time to wrap your mind around your business plan. Because from your one-on-one, you will get a business plan. Then after everyone's got their one-on-ones, our group will start meeting April 15th. So basically from March 15th to April 15th is me delivering the one-on-ones and you getting your mind wrapped around it. April 15th, we start meeting as a group and then we start implementing. Email provider, I think I would probably recommend ConvertKit, or I think it's called Kit now. I don't use it, but I've poked around with it and it seems really good. And I've gotten recommendations from other people who use it. One of my business besties, Carly, uses it and she loves it. The ladies in my group this last round, they're all using MailerLite. I don't know the difference between MailerLite and ConvertKit. So if those are two you're considering, you can always Google what's the difference between MailerLite and ConvertKit, and I guarantee you a YouTube will pop up comparing the two, and then you can choose between them. I have worked with clients who use Flowdesk, and I don't love Flowdesk. It's beautiful on on your client's end. I don't love the back end of it. So if you haven't chosen Flowdesk yet, I'd probably steer you away from it. But if you're stuck on it, that's fine. It's always doable. But yeah, I think probably ConvertKit or MailerLite would be the two that I would suggest at this page. Oh, and Chandra's voting for MailerLite. I've not worked with OmniSend. I haven't even heard of it. There's so many options now, but there's a lot of people on YouTube who will do breakdowns and comparisons. So if you're trying to decide, even if you're like, I don't know which tech I want to use, but I want a low cost email provider that has funnels and sequences and tags that is user friendly, type that into Google and you will see a ton of people on YouTube do breakdowns. And the reason why you get so many good comparison videos is because a lot of these providers that do this, they're affiliate marketers. So they provide education on the platforms and then they make commission if you use their link, but it's awesome education. So yeah, the free version of MailerLite is fairly robust. That's another one that that's one of the ones that one of the ladies was saying that they're using the free version. It's great. So that's awesome. If you can get a free tech. I didn't know Zapier sent emails. I use Zapier to connect. Like I pay for Zapier, but Zapier connects my Facebook ads. So when I create an ad, it puts the emails from my ad into my Kajabi so that I can market to them. So if any of you found me from an ad, then Zapier would have been the software that like took your email from Facebook and like plunked it into Kajabi. I shouldn't say they just took it. You have to enter it. It's not doing it non-consensually, FYI. I love it. That's another thing. I've been playing with bots to write ad copy for me, which has been super, super fun. What's a good amount of people on an email? System iOS 2000. 2000 is great. And any email system you have, it will always let you export the emails and put them in a new system should you outgrow it. So 2000's a lot. Like it would take most people a long time to get to 2000 unless they were putting a lot of money into ads or they had a really strong partnership strategy. That's the only way you'd get above 2000 very quickly. So if you like everything about System.io, I would go for it. And if you find you outgrow it at some point, they probably have a thing where it's like if you pay an extra X amount per month, then you can upgrade the volume. I know ConvertKit has it where the monthly fees are different depending on the size of your email list. So it's like a small list is cheap, and then as your list grows, the fees grow with it. Kajabi has something kind of similar where it's like the more functions you use, the more expensive it gets. So I think that's pretty standard. And normally I would recommend Kajabi, but I'm just finding there's so many good softwares coming on the market that are a lot cheaper. So I'm still using it, but if I was starting from scratch, I'd probably look at other options at this stage of the game. Any other questions for me? I've not used school as like with a client. I've only used it, where one of my coaches has a school account, so I've used her products through school. I like the interface. Like it's very user friendly. It feels like Facebook, so I think it's a really easy learning curve for people to learn. I like that it's community focused. It does host courses. I think that correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, but I think one of the hesitations around school is it doesn't have an email provider. So you would need to link it with ConvertKit or MailerLite, which is fine, right? It's totally fine to link softwares like that. But I know Paige, who was on this call and is not on the call anymore, I think she had to run. She did a ton of research and found a new software called New Zenler, Zenler, and it looks like it does kind of all of the things Kajabi does, which Kajabi does everything. It has community, email, software, payment, all of it. But New Zenler is a lot cheaper than Kajabi. So if that's something you're looking at, I might explore. The thing that's nice about like long established softwares is like there's no learning curve for your clients. They're used to using them. But that doesn't have to be a barrier to entry because your clients aren't booking you because of your software. They're booking you because you can solve their problem. And if that's important enough, they will figure out whatever software they need to figure out to get access to your work, right? So, but yeah, you do kind of want to figure out like how many softwares do I need and then what's the cost? That's kind of they all glue together, you can integrate them, but sometimes having too many options just starts to feel like, oh. Any other questions for me? I really, really hope that I'm going to get to do some of your guys' business plans over the next few weeks. I'm super excited. And I will be sharing over the next little while some testimonials from the ladies who are in the existing group. They still have 1 month to go, but they are loving it. And there are some testimonials on the website as well. And again, if you like, you can look and read them, but if you want to ask me, like, how do I think it's going to work for your business? Ask me. I'll be direct with you because obviously my goal is high participation, high success, high outcomes. I want you to win. How much would it cost to start the business and get to the number 3 offer? Say if I had to hire out all the tech setup. I don't want you to hire out all the tech setup, but my VA, I would share my VA with you and she could easily help you. You still need to be the thought leader for sure, but she could help you if you wrote all the emails, let's say in Google Doc, and you needed to put them in MailerLite or whatever system you're using, she could do that. If you needed to create a tagging system, if you needed a landing page, if like she could do all that for you, but you would need the vision, the design, and the layout. And not necessarily the layout, but like here's the header image that I want to use, here's my branding colors, and here's the text. And then you can give that to her and she can, put the web page together kind of thing. How much would that cost to do it? It depends how organized you are. It's not expensive to work with VAs if we're organized. I find VAs get expensive when we're disorganized because there's a lot of time going back and forth and delaying, and that's what gets expensive. But if you're like, here's my free guide, here's the emails I want people to get once they download it, put it in the system, here's my colors and here's my image, that Shouldn't take more than a couple hours, right? Super easy. So this is where our clarity saves us money. Would you be willing to speak to this question out and explore it so we can learn? Yeah. Does that help, Betsy? Did that me talking it through help, or do you have more questions around it?
I was actually asking Jody if she would interact with you to have the conversation around the question because I think it's such a great question.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on our clarity. So, like if a private client comes to me and they're like, this is what I want to do for stage one, this is what I want to do for stage two, and this is what I want to do for stage three, and I just need all the pieces glued together, we can do that in like 2 to 4 weeks, right? Most of the time, people have one piece clear and the rest of the pieces are kind of murky. So we need to take the time to get the clarity, then build it, right? So typically, when I work with a private client on something like that, it would take 3 to 6 months on average. I've done it faster, but for the clients I've done it faster with, they are like, I am instantly replying to emails. I'm on it. I'm replying to your voice notes. When I work with private clients on it, we do like in a month session, let's say, we'll have 3 private coaching sessions, but I will budget 1 to 2 hours per week where I work on their stuff. So if they're like, Megan, here's my freebie, help me write the emails, I'll write them for them that week and it's done, right? Because I can do it so quickly now and I've done so many. Or they're like, this is my freebie, create a quiz for it, or this is my product, create a quiz for it. I can create a quiz in a week for them. So the part that I find for most people that takes the longest is those decision points of what is a good freebie and how do I make it good? And now once I had the idea, like how many of us had a good idea for a good freebie and then we sit on it for 3 months, right? It's like it always happens. So it's like the clarity and then the action is really going to determine the rest of it is the 20%. You know what I mean? If you have the clarity and you have the action, having a good coach and having a good assistant, it can happen instantly. Like I can't even get over how fast my assistant can do stuff that would take me ages, but it's like she doesn't have the same emotional investment. Like I gave her, so many of you who are in my PNC know this, but when I do my practical numerology certification in the assessment quiz I give everyone to give them their certification, there's a few questions in there about why did you take this? What were the benefits you received? You know, would you recommend it? So there's a few questions that are like quote unquote testimonial style questions. I could sit there and pore over those for days, right? Or I could take them, plunk them into ChatGPT, say, pull out with the clear testimonials for me, give that ChatGPT file to my VA and tell my VA to turn them into graphics with a post that goes along with the graphic. And she had that done in like 24 hours, right? And that would have taken me like days to do. So it's like the clarity and the action taking and the things happening starts to kind of build like a life of its own, which is really helpful. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Jody? Cool. Anybody else have any questions?
How often do you say that you have a cohort right now that is ongoing and then you'll start the new one in April? How often do you launch new cohorts for this program?
I don't know what I'm going to do the next one. I'll for sure do one in the fall. Um, I've been toying with the idea of doing one in the summer, but I don't know. So there'll be an October one for sure. Like I'll launch it in September. We'll start in October kind of thing. Um, so yeah, that's all I know at this point for sure. But yeah, I guess it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, they're easy to do. I love to do them. They're fun. Talking about business makes me happy. So yeah, we'll see. I'm glad the wheels are turning. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, book into my calendar. No obligation, of course, but if you want to chat about next steps, where your biggest opportunities lie, all these questions about like how long would it take me? What could I outsource? What do I need to do myself? How much would it cost? All that kind of thing. We can talk about those in a one-on-one too, where I'm looking at your specific situation. And if you are thinking that this is something you want to go ahead with, reach out and let me know what you're thinking about it. Just let me know what your thought process is as I start to kind of build, build the group. I've had a couple people reach out already, and so it's always fun seeing like what are the common themes and what is the vibe of this group going to be? Because as you know, anytime we work in like in a group program, there's always certain themes and certain energies that start to emerge, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, let me drop my link in my calendar and my calendar. I will do that. It's a Calendly link. Thank you for suggesting that.
Yeah, I one of the things I appreciate about masterminds, especially when you have the stage one, stage two, stage three kind of offer, is that a group often will grow through those stages kind of together.
Mhm.
And be like, we'll see a lot of the familiar faces from this group in that mastermind or, you know, that webinar series.
Mhm.
And then it does kind of always revert back to the similar theme of what we're all working on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, right? It's like one group's like, "Oh, I really want to learn about building AI bots." I'm like, "Okay." So we end up kind of going a little more in that direction. The last group I did, we spent quite a bit of time talking about quiz funnels, and that's was kind of a topic of interest. So there's lots of different, there's a structure I follow, but I always leave room for this is what our desires are. This is the area we want to go into. So that's why it's like we have the teaching call, but we have the Q&A call, we've got the co-working call, and then we have the flex week where typically people are just working. But if I wanted to do a pop-up training, I would do that in the flex week. Absolutely. I will put the link in the replay, and it was in the email that went out yesterday as well.
This might be redundant, but I can you put it back on the screen? Can you share on screen again that same page that you did of the 6 month breakdown and then that funnel of kind of what people often are inventing?
Mhm. Um, hold on, I don't think that did it.
It did half of it. There, yeah, that.
You see both now?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is, and I'll include them in an email. It went out in my social post last night, but I don't think it went out in my email last night. But and the landing page, the information page for the program also breaks these 7 things down into more detail. But yeah, here's kind of the picture of what we're building. And then those are kind of the 6 month steps that we walk through.
So can we, while this is on screen, can we revert back to what Jody asked? And there's a difference when somebody already has a business that's kind of structured already or developed versus the person who kind of just has an idea and they're like, I know I want to do business, but I really only have the idea at this point, and we need to like formulate the brand. So would building kind of like the rebranding or the brand voice for somebody who already has some of that structure already made fall into step two of this?
So when someone already has products and let me say 80% of the people in the last cohort already had at least one, if not two, good selling products. So what we needed to do was figure out, was that product a stage 2 product or was that product a stage 3 product? Then we would need to figure out, okay, so for one client, it was a stage 2 and she needed to develop her stage 3. So we made sure her stage 2 was functioning really well. We actually improved her messaging. So she started getting more offer, like more sales in her stage 2, because she got better at stage 1. right? And so she started selling more of her stage 2. And these were one-on-one sessions. But what she needed to do was to start to figure out, first of all, selling more one-on-ones. And then second of all, how do I leverage my time and energy from just doing the one-off one-on-one? So that's building the stage 3. So that's where she's at right now, is getting clear on it. She's got a few options in her mind and she's not quite sure where she wants to go yet. So she's using her stage 2 clients as kind of the R&D to iron out what she wants to do, what the demand is for the stage 3 products. So it really depends on where you're at. And then there's another client who her stage 3 is amazing, full, super successful, sells out all the time. But she's like, I want some other income streams and some other offers. So then we started fleshing out what would her stage 2 look like and what could she do that was lower cost and more leveraged. So that's where she is right now. And that's where we've been kind of fleshing out how does she do the messaging to bring people in at that level versus her stage 3, which is quite high ticket, but she sells a lot of them, right? So yeah, most of them I'd say have something, and it's just a matter of filling in the pieces that are empty.
That cleared up a lot on how you strategically address each stage of where somebody comes in with. Thank you for that example too. That was a really great example of how somebody was when they came in and then where it took them during the course of this.
Yeah. And that's good because if a person is starting from like scratch or feeling like I don't really have anything yet, it's not my recommendation to build out a ton of stuff. It's my recommendation to start with some private clients or one-on-ones or done for you, done with you type offers where you can get the feedback loop to figure out what's working, what's not working. I strongly believe in beta testing and testing the market before you build. So like beta test, run some stuff, see how it feels for you and your client. If you like it, keep going, build the next stage. If you don't like it, go back to the drawing board, tweak it a bit more, relaunch a beta, right? Because it's really hard to see. I don't know that this happens as much anymore, but there was a stage where a lot of people would go away, spend like 3 or 4 months perfecting the perfectly designed thing, and then go to try to sell it. And there's so much pressure on you when you do it that way, right? There's so unnecessary, and it may or may not even be what the market wants, may or may not even sell, right? So I'd much rather be like, let's beta, let's talk to our customers, let's experiment with it and build based on the feedback I'm getting. How does it work with the different time zones? We'll be meeting at 11 a.m. So the same time as these calls. So whatever time it is for you right now, it would be the same. And we'll be meeting on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Yeah, all making money while you're building it and getting the feedback. 100%. I just was on a call with someone earlier and they're still doing some aspects of their training. And that was one of the questions they asked me is like, do I start building my business now and making money now and selling the things now? Or do I wait till I'm completely finished the last stage of my training? Mind you, they already have a lot of training. So I was like, no, start now and get that feedback loop while you're training, because then you've got some foundational pieces coming with you as you complete the final levels of your certification. Like that's really, really powerful. And then you've got the financial support as you go, right? The feedback loop, the R&D from the clients, and the money, right? Like all important things.
Well,
Yeah.
Megan, that was me, Leslie.
Oh, hey, Leslie.
Hey. So like I'm going to sign up with you for sure. And I just was wondering, after listening to all this, would I be better off in the mastermind than the one-on-one?
You can do either based on our conversation. But if you're kind of feeling like you want both, you can do the mastermind and just book an extra private call with me. So you would get 4 calls a month. Like
Okay.
that way you kind of get the best of both worlds. We can message about that if you want, but
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I guess it depends how quickly you want to move too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just would like to learn all of this stuff that you're talking about that would be in the mastermind. And would I be learning that one-on-one?
Yes, you
I,
would, but I agree there's something different about doing it in a classroom style. So maybe I'll send you a note about what it would look like if you wanted to do the private coaching with the classes at the same time. Just
Perfect.
add on a private coaching
Mm.
session or something.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I have to just praise you for a second here, Megan, because I've been your client for a long time. So, for anybody who has not known Megan for a very long time, I've been in multiple of her courses, masterminds, groups, everything. I've done, I can't even count how many. And it's super duper crazy valuable when you're in a mastermind. If you're doing the one-on-one coaching, in addition to that, it's mega like exponential growth. But the reason that I would say don't ever pass up the mastermind in addition, if you can, is because Megan works so closely with spirit and she's a numerology number 7. So she acts in faith. This calls in the container of every mastermind and webinar that she does that is so powerful that spirit always, for me, speaks through other people in the mastermind or webinar in such a way that I always get deeper growth and things I never would have even thought of if it was just a one-on-one call.
Thank
See,
you. Thank you. Yeah, great.
so hard. You guys are the best. I appreciate it. I gotta run because some of you know we have our practical numerology call in 20 minutes. So gotta go get a breath of fresh air and a bathroom break and a bite to eat. And I'll see some of you in numerology soon. The rest of you, please, please, please send me a note, book into my calendar. I'd love to find out if this is the right fit for you. And I really hope we get to spend the next 6 months just giving you the most epic, beautiful business that gives you the support you need to do your work in the world. That nothing would make me happier. Mwah. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.